Level 1. The candidate. The breaking. You're 22. Freezing salt water violently tears the skin directly off your shoulder blades. You are a candidate. A ghost shivering in the Coronado surf zone. You have exactly 4 minutes. You are 112 hours into Hell Week. If you do not link arms with your boat crew and withstand the crushing Pacific waves for 4 more minutes, the instructors will ring the brass bell, and your lifelong dream dies on the wet sand. A massive, rogue wave crashes over your head. A live, immediate threat. You swallow a lungful of salt water. Your gag reflex triggers. You are physically drowning in 3 feet of water. You panic, thrashing your arms. The instructor's heavy combat boot steps onto your chest, pushing you back into the freezing foam. Beside you is Voss, a farm kid from Ohio. He constantly nervously chews on an unlit splintered matchstick. He never lights it. He just grinds the wood between his molars. Voss grabs your harness under the water. He pulls you up. "Breathe, idiot," he whispers, his lips completely blue. You break the surface. You gasp for oxygen. The 4 minutes expire. The whistles blow. You survive. You drag the 300-pound inflatable boat onto the dunes. You look at Voss. You want the trident. You believe the gold pin is a magical shield that will make you an untouchable god among men. You don't realize it is a contract signed in your own blood, trading your humanity for lethality. Level 2. The green operator. The perimeter. You're 25. Aviation fuel permanently burns the back of your throat. You are a green operator. You have survived the selection pipeline. You are standing in the pitch-black cargo hold of an MH-47 Chinook helicopter flying low over the Hindu Kush. You have exactly 45 seconds. The ramp lowers into the blinding dust. If your assault element does not breach the outer mud wall of the compound in 45 seconds, the enemy sentries will trigger a heavy D-SK machine gun that will shred the fuselage in midair. You sprint down the ramp. The 62-pound rucksack cuts off the circulation to your left arm. A rusty metal door squeals open in the courtyard to your right. A live, lethal threat. An insurgent steps out, raising an old battered AK-47 into the moonlight. You do not think. You do not feel anger. You raise your heavily modified M4 carbine. The infrared laser of your PEQ-15 paints a perfectly invisible green dot on his chest through your night vision goggles. You pull the trigger twice. The recoil is a dull thud against your shoulder. The man drops. The courtyard is silent. You breach the wall in 38 seconds. You step over the body. You do not look at his face. The physical fear of washing out of training has completely vanished. It is replaced entirely by the crushing, terrifying fear of missing a target and letting a bullet slip past you into the chest of the man standing behind you. Level 3. The breacher, the kinetics. You're 28. Acrid cordite smoke violently stings your unblinking corneas. You are the breacher, the kinetic key to every locked door in the terror network. You have exactly 12 seconds. You are standing in the narrow, claustrophobic hallway of a hostile safe house in Fallujah. You just placed a linear-shaped charge on a reinforced steel door. If you do not connect the blasting cap and clear the blast radius in 12 seconds, the insurgent cell inside will finish wiping their hard drives and escape through a tunnel network. You squeeze the detonator. Nothing happens. A misfire. A live, catastrophic threat. The firing wire is snagged on a piece of rebar. You do not panic. You do not call for help. You drop to your knees in the dark. You strip the heavy tactical gloves off your sweating hands. You physically re-splice the copper wire with your bare fingers, twisting the metal until it bites into your skin. You connect the initiator. You dive behind the concrete wall. The explosion violently ruptures the air pressure in your sinuses. The door is vaporized. Voss flows into the room first, his rifle up, the unlit matchstick still clamped in his teeth. The room is secured. The hard drives are seized. You tape your bleeding fingers with electrical tape. You are a highly trained tactical instrument executing hyper-violent geometry in the dark. The fear of failure is gone. You are now consumed by the terrifying realization that your survival depends entirely on microscopic mechanical perfection. One frayed wire equals a closed casket. Level 4. Tier 1 selection, the long walk. You're 31. Thin, freezing mountain air starves your cerebral cortex of oxygen. You are attempting to cross over. You are in the Appalachian Mountains, enduring the grueling psychological torture of Tier 1 selection. You have exactly 3 hours. You are 38 miles into a 40-mile solitary land navigation course, carrying a 75-pound rucksack over impossibly steep terrain. If you do not reach the final unmarked GPS coordinate in 3 hours, you will fail the course, and you will never be invited into the most elite counterterrorism unit on the planet. Your left knee violently gives out. You collapse into the wet, freezing mud. A sharp, blinding pain shoots up your femur. A live, terminal threat to your career. If you pop the emergency flare in your pouch, the medical cadre will rescue you in 10 minutes, but your career is permanently over. You lie in the mud, you look at the flare, you do not reach for it. You grab a heavy oak branch, you use it as a crutch. You bite entirely through your lower lip to mask the agonizing pain. You walk the final 2 miles, dragging your left leg through the dirt. You arrive at the coordinate with 8 minutes to spare. A cadre member sitting on the tailgate of a truck looks at you. He doesn't smile. "Put your pack in the truck," he says. You are in. You survived the crucible. You realize that physical strength is entirely irrelevant. The only thing that matters is your absolute sociopathic refusal to quit. Before we go further, if you've made it this far, comment what career you want to see next. Hit that like button right now and subscribe. We upload every single day. Level 5. The Tier 1 Operator. The Ghost. You're 34. Stagnant, rotting canal water soaks directly through your specialized combat boots. You are a Tier 1 Operator. You no longer wear standard uniforms. You wear civilian clothes, operating in the absolute darkest, unacknowledged shadows of the geopolitical map. You have exactly 90 seconds. You are lying in the tall grass outside a heavily guarded compound in North Africa. You are painting the target building with an invisible infrared laser for a loitering AC-130 gunship. If the laser slips off the roof for even a microsecond in the next 90 seconds, the 105mm artillery shell will deviate, obliterating a civilian hospital located directly next door. A local goat herder, a boy no older than 12, steps into the tall grass, walking his flock directly toward your hidden position. A live, unpredictable threat. If he sees you and screams, the compound guards will flood the field. You cannot shoot a child. You reach out, grab the boy by the ankle, and drag him silently into the mud beside you. You cover his mouth with your heavy, gloved hand. You look directly into his terrified, weeping eyes. You hold the laser perfectly still with your other hand. The 90 seconds expire. The artillery shell impacts. The compound is instantly vaporized in a massive, blinding flash of white heat. The shock wave collapses your lungs for a second. You release the boy. You vanish into the darkness before the dust even settles. You saved the hospital. You executed the mission. But you will never forget the absolute paralyzing terror in that child's eyes. The fear of physical injury is gone. You are now terrified of the cold, mechanical monster you had to become to do this job perfectly. Level 6. The Team Leader. The Burden. You're 38. Adrenaline violently sours the taste of your own saliva. You are the team leader. You no longer just pull the trigger. You dictate the kinetic reality of 12 elite operators. You have exactly 3 minutes. You are pinned down on a flat rooftop in an urban combat zone. A massive, coordinated enemy ambush has trapped your element. If you do not redirect a pair of F-16 fighter jets to drop a 500-pound JDAM bomb on the adjacent building in 3 minutes, your position will be completely overrun by heavily armed fighters. The radio operator screams that the enemy is moving into the stairwell. A live, catastrophic threat. You grab the radio handset. Danger close. I authenticate Charlie Tango. Drop it, you order. You are calling an airstrike mere meters from your own position. You order your men to lay flat and open their mouths to prevent their eardrums from bursting. Voss lies next to you, grinding the unlit matchstick in his teeth. The bomb impacts. The concussive shock wave lifts your entire body 3 inches off the concrete. The adjacent building collapses into a massive cloud of gray, choking dust. The enemy assault is broken. You lead your men off the roof and into the extraction helicopters. You survive. You sit in the helicopter, looking at the 12 men covered in dust and blood. They look at you with absolute trust. The burden is suffocating. Command is not a privilege. Command is the unbearable, crushing weight of holding 12 human lives in the palm of your hand, knowing mathematically that eventually you will have to drop one. Level 7. The impossible choice. The crucible. You're 42. Burning magnesium from a flare sears your retinas blindly. You are deep inside denied territory. The operation has completely unraveled. You have exactly 60 seconds. The extraction Blackhawk is hovering 3 feet off the ground in a hot landing zone. The helicopter is taking massive, sustained, heavy machine gun fire. If the pilot does not pull pitch and lift off in 60 seconds, the rotors will be shredded, and all 16 men aboard will burn alive in the fuselage. You are standing on the ramp, pulling your men inside. 15 men are secure. Voss is missing. You look out into the darkness. Voss is pinned down behind a crumbling brick wall 100 meters away. A heavy PKM machine gun is chewing the bricks to dust inches from his head. A live, soul-crushing threat. He cannot move. If you hold the helicopter to mount a rescue, the aircraft is mathematically guaranteed to be destroyed. If you leave, Voss dies alone in the dirt. You look at Voss through the thermal optics. He looks back at the helicopter. He doesn't wave for help. He just taps his chest twice. He is telling you to leave. The 60 seconds expire. The pilot screams over the headset. You close your eyes. Up, pull up, you say into the microphone. The helicopter violently banks into the night sky. You leave your anchor. You leave the man who pulled you from the freezing surf zone 20 years ago. You sign his death warrant to maintain the structural integrity of the unit. The fear of the enemy is entirely gone. There is only an absolute, crushing, inescapable guilt. You are the monster you feared you would become. Level 8. The task force commander, the boardroom. You're 46. Sterile, heavily oxygenated air conditioning instantly freezes the cold sweat on your neck. You are the task force commander. You do not wear body armor anymore. You wear a tailored uniform inside the Joint Special Operations Command, JSOC, headquarters in Virginia. You have exactly 12 minutes. You are staring at a massive, ultra-high-definition live drone feed of a compound in Yemen. The absolute highest value target in the terror network, a man responsible for hundreds of deaths, is currently sitting in the courtyard. If you do not authorize the Hellfire missile strike in 12 minutes, a sandstorm will blind the drone, and the target will vanish forever. You zoom the camera in. The target is drinking tea. Sitting directly next to him is a woman holding a small child. A live, agonizing ethical threat. The blast radius of the AGM-114 missile is absolute. If you push the button, the child mathematically dies. The JAG lawyer standing behind you confirms the strike is legally proportional under the rules of engagement. You look at the screen. You think about Voss. You think about the brutal mathematics of the war. You realize that the entire geopolitical strategy of the nation rests on your ability to completely sever your human empathy. You pick up the red phone. Execute, you say? Your voice is completely dead. The missile impacts. The screen turns into a white, silent bloom of heat. You leave the operations center. You drive your civilian car home in the Virginia traffic. You authorize the incineration of a family. And then you stop at a red light next to a soccer mom in a minivan. The psychological disconnect is absolute. You have completely lost your soul to protect a society that doesn't even know you exist. Level 9. The Black Ops Chief. The Ghost. You're 51. Expensive? European cologne violently masks the metallic scent of your own adrenaline. You have transitioned completely into the black. You are a chief in the CIA's Special Activities Center. You operate entirely outside the boundaries of the Geneva Conventions and international law. You have exactly 2 minutes. You are standing in the opulent bathroom of a 5-star hotel suite in Vienna. The target, a rogue nuclear proliferator, is sleeping in the next room. If you do not inject a lethal, untraceable cardiac arrest-inducing toxin into his neck in 2 minutes, his heavily armed private security detail will return from their perimeter check. You open the bathroom door. A massive bodyguard returning early steps into the hallway holding a suppressed pistol. Alive, immediate threat. You do not reach for a gun. You step inside his guard, grab his lapel, and drive a ceramic, non-metallic blade directly into his carotid artery. You cover his mouth as he bleeds out silently onto the expensive Persian rug. You walk into the bedroom, you inject the sleeping target, you walk out the service elevator, you leave no forensic evidence. You exist entirely off the grid. You have no military rank, no official records, no existence. You are a biological weapon deployed by the state. You have evolved past fear, past morality, and past humanity. You are an invisible sociopathic mechanism enforcing the geopolitical will of the empire. Level 10. The veteran. The void. You're 58. The crushing, absolute silence of the pristine suburban neighborhood deafens your ringing eardrums. You are retired. You have a full military pension, a shadow intelligence pension, and a meticulously manicured front lawn. You are physically safe. You are legally untouchable. The wars are completely over. But you are suffering from a profound, agonizing clinical psychological disease, absolute anhedonia. The human brain is biologically incapable of surviving the continuous, massive spikes of adrenaline and trauma you subjected it to for 35 consecutive years. Standard, baseline reality is physically unbearable to you. Food has absolutely no taste. Civilian conversations are agonizingly slow, petty, and devoid of stakes. You sit in a heavy leather chair in your dark living room, staring at the muted television screen. You open your scarred, trembling palm. Resting on your skin is the unlit, splintered matchstick. Voss's matchstick. You recovered it from his personal effects that were shipped back in a cardboard box decades ago. You grind the splintered wood between your fingers. You realize the ultimate, horrifying truth of the professional operator. The enemy didn't beat you. You beat the enemy. But the cost of the victory was the total eradication of your own humanity. The military systematically broke you down, forged you into an unbreakable spear, threw you into the darkness, and then simply put you back in the closet when they were done. You sit in the crushing, silent void of your own perfection, waiting for a dawn that feels completely empty. The shadows swallowed you, and the nation never even blinked.